You are about to witness something so potent and so powerful. This is a real time subconscious transformation session, recorded live with full permission to share. These sessions are designed to dissolve stuck patterns, clear resistance, and create instant shifts, all without force or years of unpacking. It's real, it's raw, and it's not like anything you've heard before. Welcome to Rapid Resolution Therapy. A disclaimer: these sessions are real, unscripted, and deeply transformational. While the work shared here may spark powerful insights for you, remember, this is a personal session being generously shared for educational and inspirational purposes only. This is not therapy, and it's not a substitute for medical, psychological, or mental health care. If you're navigating intense emotional distress, please seek support from a licensed professional. By listening, you agree to hold space with respect for both the participant and your own nervous system. Take what resonates, let the rest move through. And if you're curious what this could unlock for you, send me a message on Instagram at @TheMeganWeir to experience a complimentary session with the option to be featured on Dropped In. And if you prefer to keep it private, you can book a paid one-on-one session off air and experience the same level of clarity, freedom, and nervous system relief, just between us. Welcome to Dropped In, Christy. I am so honored to welcome you here today and to take a little spin off of what we've been doing that's a little bit different inside of Dropped In, and sharing a different perspective, a different way of thinking through the lens of RRT. So welcome, and thank you for not only trusting this space, but for trusting me to guide you through this.
Thank you. I'm so grateful to be here and just love and support all that you do. So I'm so grateful to drop in today.
Awesome. Cool. Okay. So I am going to just ask you first and foremost, just to share with me in, just like a little short headline of how things have been for you. What has been going on for you?
Okay, well, I started to do my own little deep dive into attachment theory when my son was born, because I saw this beautiful bundle of joy. And I just sat there and I looked at him and I thought, oh my goodness, he's this imperfectly perfect little human sitting in front of me. I felt this wave of grief that but felt like grief, but it's like it's love, but it's just so strong. It felt like grief at the same time. And I just thought to myself, okay, how can I do this in the best way possible? Because I know best intentions aren't always it. So I started to do just some understanding. Like for me, I grew up with a mom who I now know to be she narcissistic. I think I denied that to myself for a long time. But so and it was just her and I when I was growing up. So it was um, like I was an only child and she was a single parent. So it was just the two of us. And so that was the only relationship that I knew. And I've spent my whole life trying to find ways of what's quote unquote normal or healthy. And yeah, anyway, so I'm looking at my beautiful little boy and I'm like, okay, I've got some work here to do because I know, these kids, they inherit your nervous systems and they inherit your good and your bad and your ugly. And so I I wanted to do the work. And so when I started to dive into attachment theory, I had a good understanding that I have a dismissive avoidant attachment style that's got, some core wounds of, it's not okay, it's not safe to be seen and heard, and it's that I will be abandoned and I will be neglected.
Mm.
So with that, I know that with subconscious change work that where I think that I can rewrite this story for myself and hopefully be able to rewrite it for him as well.
Mm. First and foremost, you're such a beautiful soul, and I just love the self awareness that you have and your intention for, kind of breaking generational
Yeah,
trauma, for lack of
yeah.
better terms, and your ability to recognize what has been happening and how you would like to kind of cut that umbilical cord and to move forward in the direction of what's intended for you. So, from what I hear, you had your beautiful baby boy. There was some grief there, which brought forth some better understanding of this fear of not being seen and this fear of being rejected. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
With a fear of abandonment that's shown up for me in other ways, and it's also I when I understood it a little bit more, it's how I show up in relationship, right? So whenever
Hmm.
there's conflict, it feels so overwhelming. I go into a freeze state, shut down,
Yeah.
and it's also how I show up in relationship with anybody who's in a authority figure. So if my like throughout my nursing career, if I got an email from my manager that's been like, "Hey, can you please get up to date on your courses?" Like, I just get so overwhelmed with, right? Like, it's so triggering, and my
Yeah.
nervous system just is ready to shut down over something that's like, come on, I can, I know that he's just doing his job by asking me to do mine, but it's, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
lot. And I recognize that this is all from those beginning years. And I also have this big picture vision that if we can support moms to do the best job that they can throughout the child's life, but just in general to really do this work, I think we could change the world. Like if
Yeah.
people had these, regulated nervous systems with their children and beyond, it'd be a different place.
100%. 100%. So, also understanding there has been that fear of abandonment.
Yes. Yeah,
And
correct.
then when certain events come in, it could be pertaining to life or work, there we get activated and then we kind of go into that, as you shared, free state. Okay, so is there anything else that I am missing or I'm not hearing that would be supportive for us to collaborate on together today?
Uh, I don't think so. I mean, I think today's a great day to honor this for myself because today's my mom's birthday and I no longer talk with my mom anymore. That was a difficult decision that I made shortly after my son was born and has been a huge healing of an energy leak. But yeah, I think today's a great day to really undo some of this.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, thank you. You've done an incredible job of sharing again how things have been for you. So I'm going to invite you into a different way of thinking. It's not necessarily the truth, it's simply a way of thinking. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that we as humans are aware of our thoughts and our feelings. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that we also don't necessarily choose them.
Yeah.
And I also think that thoughts and feelings create behaviors, create actions or inactions. And I also think that these stem from places that we aren't consciously aware of.
Yeah.
So it's my intention to get to the root of the matter to create that automatic lasting change of which is intended for you. Are you good with that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say someone's feeling stuck in a specific area of their life. Someone might say to them to just let it go or to get over it. And although it's not mean spirited, it's also less than useless to say that. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm very well aware of how things have been for you. And so it's my intention to move you in the direction of what I have been sitting with for you before meeting with you, of which beautifully intended. Okay. So I'm going to share with you first and foremost how the nervous system works and also how the mind works. Okay. And I
Okay.
know you are a highly, highly intelligent, beautiful woman. And so this is probably going to be more of a refresher for you. And I'm just going to invite you into this way of thinking, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So let's say I'm going to use our friend zebra. Okay. So we have a nervous system just like zebra. Okay.
Yeah.
So zebra's out gallivanting with his friends, eating grass, all is well. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And let's say that you and I are on this jungle safari. And so we see these zebras, and all of a sudden we see this lion approaching. So as humans, we would think, oh my goodness, that lion is going to eat that zebra for lunch. That lion is going to make that zebra scared. That lion is going to make that zebra run really fast. Lion doesn't want zebra to be afraid of anything because he wants to eat zebra for lunch. Okay?
Yeah.
So lion is approaching zebra. Zebra is using his five senses and perceiving a threat. So his legs get stronger, heart rate increases, digestion slows down because he doesn't need to worry about eating lunch. He needs to do what?
Run.
Yeah, outrun
Mhm.
fellow zebra.
Yeah.
So he outruns fellow zebra and goes back to eating grass, business as usual. He's not recalling, oh my goodness, remember that one time I almost got eaten by that lion? Or going to his friend, oh my goodness, thank God we outran that lion because he didn't. He doesn't
Mhm.
recall anything other than what's happening right now. And he's able to literally shake off anything that may have happened and go back to business as usual.
Yeah.
So if we could go up to zebra and zebra could talk, we would say, oh my goodness, you just outran that zebra who got eaten for lunch by that lion. And he would be like, what zebra? Okay.
Yeah.
All that's happening is right now. Let's say now that we look to our right on the safari and we see a beautiful mama zebra with her baby, nurturing, loving, cuddling, and in comes this really annoying bird. And this bird starts pecking on baby zebra's head. Well, you're a mom. Guess what happens next? Her legs get strong, her heart rate increases, her jaw gets really strong because she's going to bite the head off of that bird, of which she does. Goes back to business as normal, cuddling, snuggling with her baby. She can't recall what if that bird comes back, or I can't believe that bird just pecked at my baby. It's just like that happened and that's done. Business as usual. Again, if we could go up to her and say, oh, I can't believe you just bit the head off that bird, she'd be like, what bird? Nothing's happening. Okay?
Yeah.
So the thing about humans, on the other hand, is that we're hardwired just like zebra. So we can utilize our senses, picking up that there's a perceived threat, but we really don't need to be outrunning any lions or tigers or bears, do we?
No.
No. And we certainly do not need to be biting anybody's head off either, do we?
No.
No. Okay. And the thing about humans is that we have the same mind as zebra, but we also have the primitive mind where we're able to collect data from past events and experiences. Okay. We're also able to collect data from the future utilizing our very creative imagination. And through all this, these minds are not connecting. It's like the wires are not connecting, they're getting crossed. So there's this noise in the background from past events and experiences which we're not consciously aware of. And so we can get activated and triggered in these moments. And so even though right now in this moment nothing's happening, if we were to utilize our five senses, there's nothing happening. But there's information coming in from past events and experiences that, oh, your legs better get strong. Your heart rate better increase because there is a perceived threat. But in all reality, nothing's happening right now, is there?
No.
No. Therefore, there's nothing to get done. Another thing about the mind, especially, I'm sure you've heard this, that we are meaning-making machines. So we love to attach meaning to things. So we can have these identities of, I have this, or I am this. And so it's my interest to clear these identities that are data, but not who you are. Perhaps it's who you've been, but it's not who you are. Okay?
Mhm.
So let's say now that it's a beautiful summer day and there's this beautiful little girl. She is just in her zone of genius, just in her element, so happy, so free. And she is skipping, singing, cartwheeling, dancing over the sprinkler. And you can just feel the joy exuding out of her, can't you?
Mhm.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, the sprinkler turns off. The water turns off. And you can imagine what happens next. That happiness, that joy, it turns to sadness and tears. And so she goes and grabs her towel and runs back towards the house, and she looks at the hose and sees that there's a kink in the hose. And so she takes the kink out of the hose, and guess what? That water is rushing back into the sprinkler, sprinklers on, and her joy, her happiness is back. Game on. Okay?
Mhm.
Let's say now that it is a September rainy day on Vancouver Island. Sorry, November rain, not September. November. Horrific. Torrential downpour. And I go outside and I look and I see there's this water pooling right at my roof. I'm like, oh shoot, that's not very good for the roof, is it? So I go and grab my ladder, I climb up the ladder, and I look in the gutter and I see that there's this abundance of dirt and debris and needles and branches. So I start to clear it away, sweep it away, and you can imagine what happens next. That water now is going through the gutter, down the downspout, and all is well. So I can tell that there's absolutely nothing wrong with your mind. You're picking up what I'm throwing down, and all
Mhm.
that's been occurring is this stuck data in the processor. It's like the glitch in the system. And so it's my intention to clear this stuck data so your mind is clear and free, focusing on what's possible to do and good to have done. Okay?
Okay.
So let's say another example, I have a MacBook. And so I look at my Mac and there's like 10 tabs open on my screen. I sweep the screen over and it's like, oh shoot, there's another 10 tabs open. I sweep again and there's another 10 tabs. Well, no wonder my computer isn't working. No wonder why it's like so slow. So I start to close the tabs down. One by one, page by page, tabs are closed. Guess what? Computer is back up and running like nobody's business. It's brand new. The internal system is operating optimally. Okay? And so this is what the intention is for you. It's just to close down these tabs, the ones that have been perhaps in that background, like that white noise that sometimes we're aware of, sometimes we're not, but it's like, what is that?
Mhm.
And we're just going to close them down one by one. And so you're going to be so well resourced to all of your superpowers.
Okay.
Is there any part of that that you would not be open to today?
Nope, that sounds great.
Awesome. Okay.
Mhm.
So I know this sounds a little bit out there and a little bit crazy, but I have been here with you in 3 different places. Okay?
Okay.
I have been with you understanding how things have been for you, and as far as I'm concerned, the past is the past, the past is history. Then we have our plan and we have our intention. In this plan, I see your mind clear and free. So you are so well resourced to all of your superpowers, your creativity, your intuition, your joy, your wisdom, all of your innate gifts are abundantly yours. Okay? And I see in this intention of which I've been sitting with you before we met together that it's like you wake up and it's like, oh my goodness, I have so much more breathing room. I have so much more spaciousness. I have so much more energy, more power, more vitality. And you kind of take a big stretch and it's like, oh, it's like I'm in this new vessel. And you get up and you look over your shoulder and it's kind of like laughing. Like, remember that time when that had all this energy and power? It's actually quite laughable now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the past, it's history. And so now I see it's like this profound ripple effect because we've cut that umbilical cord, we've cut that cord. You are so well resourced to all of this power, this energy, this intention, which creates this ripple effect within your son, within your family, within your community, the collective and generations to come.
Full body, yes.
Yes, we're here for that, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. So we have our plan, we have our intention, and the entire time we've been together, I've had chills, which is always confirmation on my end that we are right on track, meaning that our energy is connecting. And as our energy connects, our energy expands. And as energy expands, it creates power. And this is the power that's fueling the transformation that's already underway. Okay? So, just for a moment, can you share with me a color that resembles this transformation?
Yellow.
Yellow. What kind of
Mhm.
yellow?
A bright golden yellow.
I love it. Wonderful. And is there a scent or fragrance?
Host, rain, smell off the trees, outdoor, crisp air.
Ooh, crisp and clean. I can smell that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And is there a sound present?
The sound of the wind going through leaves on the trees.
Beautiful. And what wild bird, animal, or mythical creature?
You know, uh, I don't know why, but I'll go with it. A seagull has been coming up for me.
Seagulls?
Yeah,
Oh, you have to come to the West Coast. What's the seagull? Is it plural or
just one.
single? Okay. And what's the seagull doing?
He is just soaring overhead, playing in the, when they like dive down in the wind and then they come back up and they play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that.
I love it.
Mm.
Free bird.
Yes.
Love, love, love. Okay. Amazing. Okay. And one part that I didn't do, can you connect to an abstract design that would resemble what the intention of that we're clearing together today?
Okay.
Would it be black, white, gray, or color?
Let me just think about that for a second. Mm, it's like a half color. It's like almost like a faint watercolor.
A watercolor?
Yeah.
Okay. And is there any shapes, sizes, lines, squiggles?
Just a couple of like black shadowy mixed in with some grays and whites.
Okay. Good. We're done with that. Just like that. Okay, so I'm going to share with you the power of energy, but before we do that, I'm going to have you, is it safe for you to close your eyes?
Yeah.
Yes, awesome. Okay, so I'm going to have you sit up nice and tall and just have your feet nice and planted onto the floor. And so what I'm going to have you do, Christy, is we're going to take a big deep inhale and we're going to gaze over the computer screen about 2 inches. And as you take that inhale, you're gently going to close the eyes and then we're going to exhale. Okay? So sitting up nice and tall, taking a big deep inhale. Closing down the eyes, taking in that bright yellow color, exhale. Release. Open the eyes, taking a deep inhale. Taking in that post-rain crisp air. Closing the eyes, exhale. Release. Open the eyes, taking a big deep inhale. Hearing the leaves and the trees. Closing the eyes, exhale. Release. Open the eyes, taking a deep inhale. Seeing that seagull soaring, closing the eyes. Exhale. Release. Open the eyes. Any thoughts present during that?
No.
No. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So you mentioned how things have been for you. Does that show up for you in what capacity? Does it show up like in your body? Is it showing up in your mind? How is it displaying it?
Shows up in my body. So whenever I'm in any sort of potential conflict arises, I feel a tightness in my chest and a need to shrink down and feel smaller.
Okay. Tightness in chest and then kind of that need to contract. I hear you. Okay. And is the tightness in the chest, is it local? Does it radiate?
It feels like a little ball that expands maybe just right in here.
Okay. Okay.
Hmm.
And then from what you've shared in the past, it kind of brings you into this space and place of freezing.
Correct. Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
It's shrink down, freeze.
Shrink down, freeze. Okay. And in
Hmm.
those moments, are you cognizant of what might be occurring in your mind?
Just feels like this. It feels like it's not safe.
Not safe. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So I'm going to share with you. So again, the intention is that we have so much more breathing room, so much more spaciousness, so much more capacity.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so with that, I'm going to show you something that's really, really powerful. Okay. So
Okay.
I'm going to speak to one specific cell on your body, and that
Okay.
specific cell is on your pinky finger.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to speak to one specific cell, one specific cell on your pinky finger. And so I say, hey, pinky cell, I just learned something frickin' fantastic. I have this innate ability to absorb only what has value, and at the same time, I can release what does not. And Pinky Cell says, yeah, I know. I do this all day, every day. I absorb things like nutrients and oxygen, and at the same time, I release all of the garbage, all the toxins, impurities, all the carbon dioxide. And I have this stream that goes directly in front of me. And it's as though I get groceries delivered to me all day, every day. And at the same time, the garbage disposal comes and just releases what no longer serves. I have this innate ability to absorb only what has value. And at the same time, I can release what does not. And what's incredible is that it's not only happening within my cell, it's happening within the trillions of cells within every intricate part of my body. It's even happening within my mind. I have this innate ability to absorb only what has value, and at the same time, I can release what does not. Taking a deep inhale and exhale. Beautiful. And open the eyes. Welcome back. Any thoughts present during that?
No, just I've got a talking pinky.
What is this wacky woman talking about? But isn't it cool? You have this innate ability to absorb only what has value,
So true. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So as we connect to that past version of Christy, it's as though you were kind of wearing shoes that were 2 sizes too small.
Mhm.
And you recognize that, hey, these shoes don't fit anymore. Like that was a
Mhm.
past version of myself of shoes that I was trying to make fit, but I've outgrown them.
Yeah.
So now it's like you take these shoes off, it's like, whoo, The angels are singing. I have so much more breathing room, so much more spaciousness, so much
Yeah.
more capacity. It's like, wow, who knew this was even a possibility, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's this beautiful freaking horse. I know you love horses, don't you?
Oh, who doesn't?
So there's this beautiful horse, and it is so strong and so powerful. And it's been tied to this fence post for its entire life. And one day he recognizes that this rope that he was connected to is actually an invisible rope. He's been tied to this fence post, but it was invisible the entire time. And so you can imagine what happens when he finally recognizes that this, in fact, was never there. He runs into the sunset. He's free. He's galloping. He is just in his zone. My shivers are electric right now, and it just is happening. Picking up what I'm throwing down.
Yes.
Yeah, what am I throwing down?
Freedom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Hmm.
So remember when I spoke about that computer screen with all these open tabs?
Hmm.
It's also kind of like, remember the very first Mac? It was probably like, I don't know what year it was. Let's just say 1988 for fun.
Okay.
Okay. So the very first Mac was brought to the world 1988. That is old software, isn't it?
It sure is.
It's been updated a billion times, if not more, probably a
Hmm.
trillion, knowing Mac, knowing Apple,
Yeah, that's right.
right?
Yeah.
However, we thought that that was the internal operating system that we needed to be operating on was from 1988, when in fact, you probably weren't even born yet. But in fact, it's like 2025. It's like, oh, no wonder. That's just like old information. That's old news, right? That's just like an old operating system that is totally expired.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the mind is getting it, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
You're seeing so clearly what's available for you. So that was the past. And what do we know about that? It
It's
happened,
gone. Yeah,
but it's not happening.
that's right.
So when we connect back to the zebra, zebra is like, oh, something's happening. I'm going to respond and then go back to business as usual. Our mind is perceiving that something's either happening, has happened, or might be happening. But in all reality, in this moment, with all of this updated information, we've released those shoes that are no longer ours. We've outgrown them years ago. We've acknowledged that this rope was invisible. We've acknowledged that that was just an old operating system that's well expired.
Yeah.
So, yes, these things have happened, but they're not happening. So, we can let the mind know that, yeah, that happened, but it's not happening. It's who I was, but it's not who I am. Who you are in this moment is that light that radiates at the center of your being,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That light that's always on. It's only your awareness of it that changes, right?
Hmm.
So we would say to a little child that the sun weighs just as much at midnight that it does at noon. And therefore it's just as hot. It's only our awareness of it that changes,
Hmm.
right? So if you were to connect with a moment in time where you had this abundance, this peak moment in time where you were able to captivate like a sense of peace and excitement. Can you recall a time?
Yeah.
What was that?
That was just being in the moment with my son, twirling around, holding him, hugging him, latching onto me, and we're both just in pure joy.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So that is the light. That is your light. That light is always on. So at that moment where you had that peace and excitement, that is always on within you. But sometimes the awareness of it changes. Okay?
Yeah.
And so it's the intention for you to, as I always love to say, is to recognize that you are in fact dropped into your self-source power. That light is always on. Just sometimes the awareness of it changes. Okay? And so you're to look at me and you know that you're not hurting me, are you?
No.
Your senses are bringing in this information that you are safe, that I am safe. And all is well right here in this moment, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we have this level of knowledge that resides at the surface. And underneath that, we have that wisdom. And that wisdom resides within you. That wisdom of light. That wisdom of self-source power. That wisdom of that time where you're so deeply anchored into that peace and excitement. Okay? So where can these fears and old memories and events and experience, where can they exist?
Well, they don't.
They don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's within the shadows.
Yeah.
And as light penetrates darkness, we know what happens, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Well, now they don't. Yeah.
What's that?
So now they don't. When the light penetrates them,
Yeah,
the shadows disappear.
they disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's who you were, but it's not who you are. Who you are is that light,
Mm-hmm.
that peace, that excitement, your self-source power. Okay?
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Can you connect with that abstract design that we created at the very beginning of our time with one another?
Yeah.
And what do you notice?
The charge is gone. Mm-hmm.
Look at that. Look how powerful you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's beautiful, Christy, is that we can recall events and experiences, but there's the intention that there is no charge there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we can go and connect with what has happened, but we recognize that it happened, but it's not happening. Okay?
Yes.
So I want to support you further with this. Would that be all right with you?
Yes.
Awesome. So remember how I shared that when there's a perceived threat, our legs get strong, our heart rate increases?
Yeah.
I know you know this, but as that's happening, our body is getting flooded with glucose. It's giving us all this extra energy, all of this extra power to outrun a perceived threat. But knowing what we know now, there isn't anything happening right now, is there?
No.
No. So this excess energy, this excess power is less than useless, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're going to put this bookmark for you to remember that if for some reason something arises, we can take a moment and just check in. What is my mind trying to get me to do right now? There's nothing happening. Therefore, there's nothing to get done. Okay?
Okay.
And so we're going to remember that when we have this extra energy, this extra power, it also cuts off all of our superpowers. It
Yeah.
cuts off that wisdom, that light,
Yeah.
your innate gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So let's say you had your name on a wait list for this bougie restaurant. Okay? One of the bougiest restaurants that you could ever imagine.
Okay.
And you get fast tracked. You get an invitation. It's like, oh, it's time. You have arrived. Okay?
Okay.
So you go to this restaurant and you're like, Oh my goodness. Like the energy is palpable. It's just like, oh, it just feels so energetically rich. And you're greeted by the most handsome of all handsome waiters. And he greets you with the most beautiful, bright smile. And he takes you to your table. And as you go to the table, you kind of just take a moment. It's like you're a bit breathless because it's like, wow, they have thought of every single detail. They have the most beautiful white linen tablecloths, the flowers, they have the china, fine china, might I add, the silverware, the glassware, everything is just beautiful. You couldn't ask for anything else on this table. In fact, there is no space because they've just set it beautifully. So you sit down and he takes your drink order and he leaves and he comes back and he gives you your drink. And as he does, he gives you 5 extra forks. And you're like, this is strange in your mind. I don't need any more forks. I have more than enough of everything here on this table. And so you say to him, very graciously, thank you for the unnecessary forks.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Thank you for the unnecessary forks.
And he's like, okay, fine. So he takes them away. And this time he comes back to take your dinner order. And as he does, he brings you 5 extra plates and he just places them ever so gently in front of you. And now you're like, okay, this is becoming a buzzkill here. Like this was the bougiest of all bougies. I have everything I thought I needed, and you keep bringing me all of this unnecessary stuff. And so you say to him, thank you for the unnecessary plates.
Thank you for the unnecessary plates.
He's like, fine. So he takes the plates away. He also takes your dinner order and he leaves. He comes back with your dinner, places it in front of you, and you're like, oh, great, what's happening next? And he's like, here's 5 extra glasses of water. And you're like, okay, man, like I love my fluids, but this is way too much now. And now I'm starting to get annoyed, right? And so you say to him, thank you for the unnecessary water.
Thank you for the unnecessary water.
And he's like, okay. So he takes it away. You're like, oh, I need a holiday from all of this unnecessary business. And so he comes back to check on your dinner, and this time he brings you a silver platter. And he puts the silver platter directly in front of you. And this silver platter is filled with all of this unnecessary strength, all of this unnecessary power. Okay?
Okay.
And also, thank you for all these unnecessary thoughts. And so you say to him, thank you for the unnecessary thoughts.
Thank you for all the unnecessary thoughts.
Thank you for the unnecessary strength.
Thank you for the unnecessary strength.
Thank you for the unnecessary power.
Thank you for the unnecessary power.
Thank you for the unnecessary thoughts.
Thank you for the unnecessary thoughts.
Thank you for the unnecessary strength.
Thank you for the unnecessary strength.
Thank you for the unnecessary power.
Thank you for the unnecessary power.
Taking a big deep inhale. Exhale. Clear and free. Awesome. Open the eyes. What did you notice there?
Well, my mind just kept going, what if I need these forks for something? Do I keep them? Like, if I hang on to them, what if there's something I don't, right? Like, because it's all of those fears that come up that it's just like, you don't know what you're going to need this for. Should we just keep it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then you recognize it's less than useless, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because all these forks and all these plates and all these drinks and all these thoughts, they just compile.
Mhm.
And we can create the sense of like freeze. It's just like, well, what do I do with all this? Right?
Mhm. Now they were
And that,
stacking on my imaginary table.
yeah. And it's all unnecessary, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because all this unnecessary strength and power is actually far more beneficial to be channeled into what's intended for you, isn't it?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So we can put that in the back pocket too. Thank you for
Yeah.
this unnecessary strength. Thank you for this unnecessary power. Thank you for these unnecessary thoughts.
Yeah.
Take a deep inhale and exhale. Awesome. When we connect with the energy and intention of expansion, of that breathing room, of that spaciousness, what do you notice now?
That's time to regift the shoes that don't fit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the shoe
Yeah.
analogy. It's a great one.
Yeah, it's just old news.
Yeah.
It's like, who knew I could change those,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. How did today go for you?
That was really good. Was it felt safe, it felt grounding, it felt releasing. It was yeah, it was really cool.
Mm, awesome. Cool. So,
Mhm.
thermometers, I don't know if the weather's dropping where you live, but right now it is. Or sorry, it's getting warmer. It's not dropping.
Right.
But the intention for our time together is that, you notice that the abstract design had completely changed. And so the energy is just going to keep shifting. And so it's just like, oh, how do I have so much more clarity? These downloads
Mm,
are coming in hot.
yeah.
I have so much more energy, more power, the good kind of power, the superpowers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what's intended is that it just keeps getting less and less and less and less. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Some great tools to keep in your back pocket are thank you for the unnecessary strength, thank you for the unnecessary power, thank you for the unnecessary thoughts.
Yeah.
What is my mind trying to get me to do right now? Nothing's happening. Therefore, there's nothing to get done.
Mhm.
Okay?
Mhm.
Awesome. The other is one that I love to share is, like a guitar player tunes his guitar before he practices
Mhm.
or before he goes on stage
Mhm.
or even before he goes into a recording studio. He
Yeah.
tunes his guitar again and again and again and again.
Mhm.
So just like the guitar player, you can tune your mind again and again and again. So we talked about those symbols at the very middle part of our time with one another, and the mind loves symbols. And I could have chosen any symbol for you, but because your
Mhm.
mind loves symbols, it chose those for you to support the transformation. And so you can take a big deep inhale, take in that bright yellow color, exhale, release. You can do that as soon as you wake up in the morning. When you're driving your car, you can do it. You can do it with the seagull. You can do it with the sound of the leaves, or the trees, sorry, and that crisp, clean air scent. You can tune your mind again and again and again throughout the day, at any given moment, to absorb only what has value and to release what does not.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for being in this space and also for showing others what's possible with this profound tool of RRT.
Yes. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see how more abundant it feels and yeah, just watch that charge kind of just fade and yeah, I I'll report back.
Please do. Please do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. I'm excited for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.